Alright, so I'm going to start off with the muscles. So with the lower leg, ankle, and foot, the muscles are in 4 compartments. So we're going to start with the anterior compartment, which by its name you can tell it's going to be on the front of the leg. So we'll start with the tibialis anterior, which is, this is your good knee, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's going to be on the lateral, it's going to originate on the lateral tibial condyle and the lateral proximal aspect of the tibia. And it's going to insert right down here at the first medial cuneiform and the base of the first metatarsal. And that's going to do ankle dorsiflexion and inversion. Next we have the extensor hallucis longus, which originates at that lateral tibial condyle as well. The head and proximal 3/4 of the fibula, as well as the interosseous membrane, which you can't really palpate it, but it's going to be right in between the tibia and the fibula. And that goes down, it runs down the front of the leg and splits into 4 parts, which go into phalanges 2 through 5. And that does toes 2 through 5 extension, as well as ankle dorsiflexion. And then the final one of, no, not the final one, so the extensor hallucis longus originates at the middle half of the fibula and inserts at the base of the distal phalanx. Distal phalanx is going to be up here. The distal phalanx of the great toe, sorry. And it does great toe extension as well as ankle dorsiflexion. And then for the last one, in the anterior compartment, we have the peroneus tertius, which originates at the distal third of the fibula and the interosseous membrane and inserts at the dorsal aspect of the 5th metatarsal. And then we have the lateral compartment, which by its name you can tell it's going to be on the lateral side of the leg. So we're going to have the peroneus longus, which originates at the lateral tibial condyle, the head and proximal 2/3 of the fibula and the interosseous membrane, and that runs down and under the foot. I'm not going to touch your foot, don't worry.
That's fine.
It's going to run down and under your foot and come into the first medial cuneiform, just like the tibialis anterior, as well as the base of the first metatarsal. And that does plantar flexion and eversion. And then we have the peroneus brevis, which is a short muscle that is at the distal third of the fibula. And that runs right down and inserts into the styloid process, if you want to like rotate your knee inwards a little bit, the styloid process of the 5th metatarsal, which is right here. And that does plantar flexion and eversion as well. I need you to turn around. If you want to stand up and turn around for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You can do either leg. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so, and then we have the superficial posterior compartment, which the first muscle in that is the gastrocnemius, which originates at the lateral and medial femoral condyles. And that runs right down, inserts into the calcaneus via the Achilles tendon. And then underneath that, we have the soleus, which originates at the head and proximal fibula and middle tibia, and that runs down into the calcaneus via the Achilles tendon as well. And then we have the plantaris, which originates at the linea aspera of the femur, and that runs down and inserts into the calcaneus. The gastroc and the soleus both do plantar flexion, and the plantaris is a weak plantar flexor. And then we have the deep posterior compartment, which the first muscle of that is the tibialis posterior, which originates at the posterior middle tibia, the medial aspect of the fibula, as well as the interosseous membrane. And that inserts into, you can turn around. I need to turn around a little bit. And that's going to insert into the navicular, metatarsals 2 through 5, and the medial cuneiforms. You can turn back around for me. And then we have the flexor digitorum, I don't remember the origin for that one quite yet, but that inserts at phalanges 2 through 5, and that does toes 2 through 5 flexion. The extensor digitorum longus, no, the flexor, I just said that. The flexor hallucis longus, that one originates at the posterior middle tibia. And then, you can turn around for me again. And then inserts at the distal phalanx of the great toe. And that does great toe flexion. And I don't remember the origin for the flexor digitorum. Okay, so you can sit down for me now. So now on to palpations. We have, we'll do this one. We have the calcaneus, which is the heel bone back here. On top of that, right, you can kind of feel it right in here, is going to sit the talus. You have the lateral malleolus and the medial malleolus. Oh, sorry. She told me my knee was in the way. You have the lateral malleolus, medial malleolus. Calcaneus is the heel bone, in case you can see that because of my knee, and then the talus is going to sit on top of it. You have the styloid process. The fifth metatarsal is going to be down here. And then you have the medial cuneiforms, which are going to be right across here. Metatarsal 1, metatarsal 2, metatarsal 3, metatarsal 4, and then metatarsal 5. I know, it feels weird. And then you have, alright, I'm gonna need you to what? So rotate this way and kind of.
That's far that one's going, buddy.
Okay, so the sustentacium tali is this gap that's gonna be in between the talus and the calcaneus. She can't do it because this ankle's messed up. So you're good now. So you can just kind of sit that down since that's uncomfortable for you.
That's fine.
And then for articulations, we have the proximal tibiofibular joint, which is, of course, the upper articulation of the tibia and fibula. We have the distal tibiofibular joint, which is obviously the lower leg portion of the tibia and fibula articulation. We have the metatarsophalangeal joints, which are your metatarsals connecting or articulating with your phalanges. And then you have your interphalangeal joints, which you have 3 of those in each except for your big toe. In your big toe you only have the proximal and the distal. So you have proximal, intermediate, distal, proximal, intermediate, distal, proximal, intermediate, distal, proximal, intermediate, distal. And then, oh, you have your medial tuberosity, so if you want to just lift your foot up, which is going to be right about there. And that is where your plantar fascia attaches we'll get into ligaments in a minute. And then you obviously have the shaft of your tibia, your tibial tuberosity. You have your tibial plateau right in here. And then you have your medial and your lateral tibial condyles. You have your patella, base, apex, medial, lateral borders, the head of your fibula. Right there is going to be your Gerdy's tubercle. No, that is not. That was wrong. So you have the head of your fibula, the shaft of your fibula, and then you are going to have your medial femoral condyle and your lateral femoral condyle. Yeah, you can see that, hopefully. And then, alright, sorry.
It tickles so much.
And then,
it's fine.
her adductor tubercle is right there. Sorry, I know it's
okay.
Alright, so for ligaments, or connective tissue I should say, you have your interosseous membrane, which is in between the tibia and fibula, and that provides more stability. You have your spring ligament or your calcaneonavicular ligament, which is going to attach right at that tuberosity, and it supports the arch of your foot. It's one of the ligaments that creates the arch of your foot, as well as the plantar fascia. You have your anterior tibiofibular ligament, which is going to hold your tibia and fibula together, and it prevents them from splitting out. you have your anterior talofibular ligament, which prevents plantar flexion and inversion. And then you have your deltoid ligament, which is right on the medial side, and that prevents eversion. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it.